Hey guys, welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery. Don here. I want to talk a little bit today about a meeting I had. I did an interview with this gentleman. His name was Matt, and I'll actually include the interview as an audio afterwards for you guys to listen. So, but this first part, I recommended after we talked. He has a shoe business called Evans in the Common, and the neat thing is that Matt, I'm trying to help him how to up his reviews in his shoe store, and these are similar things that can be used kind of cross industry into podiatry. But the main tip I gave him is that when he, I actually gave him my barber the same tip. Basically, what you can do is when they leave, you can offer people, if they do a review right then, they can get some type of a free gift. That might be $5 off, might be a free sock or something else like that. Like, this is a great way. Like, I know a lot of other options that like some people do, they text them the link right away to do it. But the neat thing about this is you are doing it and they can do it right when they're in line, kind of like checking out, hey, scan this with your QR code, scan this with your phone and do a review. You can put these behind your doors in your treatment rooms, and it's really easy. I'm going to put in the description here the actual process of how to set this up, because I found this online and I copied and pasted it. I'll be talking about in one of the future episodes of Podiatry Practice Mastery, the ones I do on Monday. But it's a great idea. So basically, when patients are leaving or his clients are leaving from a shoe store, he can do this, and he just kind of gives it to them, this little link. They scan it and they get $5 instantly off. But he can get like hundreds and hundreds of reviews if you have a system of doing it. Whereas once they leave, to get that same review is like infinitely more challenging. So that's kind of what my thought is for doing reviews for that. I'd like to know what's working for you guys. Let me know. And once again, I go really deep into reviews in the 30-day practice blueprint. If you guys haven't joined that, you can go to Podiatry Practice Mastery. It's like my free gift that's up top. You can get in there and you get it. Get all that information in there. I think you're going to like that. If you just imply this one thing, like, it would just rocket you much more than any of the other podiatrists in the area. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Thanks. Hello and welcome to Healthy Living. My name is Don Pelto, and I have Matt here from Evans on the Common. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Pelto. Pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm curious, in this day and age, so many people are buying things online, and it's hard to find one of those traditional shoe stores that does things, and they're just closing up because everyone's buying them online, and they're only covering certain types of shoes. So tell me your history. I don't know if it's a family history, the history of behind the shoe store.
Yeah, I'll try to give you a broad overview. So I'm the second generation. My parents founded the business back in 1979, so we're going on our 43rd year. We started out down the road in a small little corner in the strip mall, mostly clothing based. My father, who had a footwear background his whole life, retired from his job or left his job to come full time when we bought this building, the old schoolhouse, back in, I think it was 84, 85. At that point, we kind of went more into the footwear realm, which has been our driving force ever since. But my father always believed in like higher quality, good selection of all sizes, widths, to fit anyone out there, and service as far as a shoe has to fit in order to be comfortable, number one, first and foremost. There are other things that come into play too, but it definitely has to fit. So you have to have a lot of options. So our footwear department has just continuously expanded, and the other parts of the business have grown as well over the 40 years. But it takes a long time, and the competition is fierce, especially with the online, like you said. So you have to have a niche. A niche is something that every business should have these days, especially. And that niche for us, my father kind of set the tone, but to have the better quality stuff, to be able to try it on and be fitted through people who have experience and knowledge in the field, and to guarantee satisfaction. A lot of people who have harder to fit feet, back when we started offering free shipping, they would order 10, 20 different pairs of shoes, and they'd come in and say, I tried them all and none of them worked. And meanwhile, they get the free shipping, but they're like, well, they charge your card, and then to get the refund takes like 2 payment cycles and whatnot. So there's some disadvantages to it. It is a big convenience, but we kind of focus on those people who either want to touch, feel, or see the product, or have the feet that are difficult to fit and they just can't click on a mouse and find something comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of overhead to have all the inventory to be able to fit them, but working with the customers is something that we enjoy. We can bring 20 pairs out, take 2 hours, whatever it takes, and then we tell them, bring them home too, and because you don't know 100% until you spent your time in them doing the things that you're going to be doing, whether they're the right shoe or not.
Now, what do you think in terms of shoes? The last that traditional shoes are made on, are they made for anyone's foot for real? Like you seem to carry a lot of what we call, and maybe you could talk about what an anatomic shoe is, or some of the brands, why you chose those types, and how they fit different than traditional shoes.
Yeah, so that you touch on a very good point. Most footwear that's out there is designed more or less for the looks of it than anything else, and to get someone to see it and want to buy it. And that really doesn't work great. And people who have foot problems, we're all different. Every person's unique and different, and there's so many different foot shapes and mechanics out there. And there are tons and tons of shoes, but the very few of those shoes are designed with that anatomic and orthopedic design that can fit everybody's needs. So we've always kind of stayed on the forefront. My father always believed in trying the newest things out there. And I remember when I got out of college in '95, we went to a shoe show, and the Keen water shoes, hybrid shoes, had just launched. And he brought me over there knowing I was green. And he said, "Tell me what you think of these." And I laughed at him and I said, "They're so ugly, nobody's ever going to buy these." And lo and behold, he placed a huge order in front of me. And when they came in, we had to unload them all. And I'm like, we're just going to sit on these things. And they sold like hotcakes. So when you look at like the Keen shoe like that, which has that more anatomic foot shape to it, and it's not a giant stacked heel or a tapered toe, through the years, we continuously found other brands that came out that had that unique niche, like Ultra for one. I'm actually wearing a pair of Ultras right now that are a unique leather shoe that they have.
I'd lift my foot up, but my camera's not high enough. I'm wearing a pair of Ultras right now too. So.
Yeah, so I love that brand because they came out and they said, look, we're going to go against the norm, and we're going to design a shoe that it's not trying to control you, and or you're not jamming your foot in there and having your toes squeezed and whatnot, and let the foot function more properly. Which for a lot of people, that's all it takes. So brands like Hoka, when they first came out, Five Fingers, Topo, Ultra, we've continuously been like the first in New England to bring these brands in. And it's always good because as time goes on, we can learn more and new things come out that can actually address things better, and or more options are always a good thing because, like I said, not everybody is alike. So there's so many different feet out there. It helps to have more choices.
Now, I want to share my experience. We went there recently with my wife, and I go in, and it, like you said, it's an old schoolhouse, right,
Yep.
Matt?
Mm-hmm.
And there's 2 floors, and I think, it's only 20 to 30% is the shoes. You say it probably produces most of your revenue, but it's a smaller portion of it. And I go back there and I think this, and but then when I looked at all, like, for women, we didn't talk women's shoes, but there's a lot of women's shoes as well, because the hardest ones. So athletic shoes, you can maybe do a Nike that'll stretch a little bit, or other ones, but you're going to be more comfortable in like a Topo or an Ultra. But for women's shoes, it's hard. Like, you have some interesting brands there and you have to get the right woman though, because a lot of women, they look at them, they're like, I'm not going to wear that thing. So talk about women's shoes a little bit. Like, what are some of the brands that you like there?
So, and again, some of these will work for some people and others not. We've had a long relationship with Dansko, who, a lot of people in the nursing field like. Now, that can be controversial to me in some ways because it's a higher heel height and it's firm, but it does work for a lot of people. We've been a Birkenstock dealer since the 30s, which that anatomic footbed with some orthopedic features built into it. Allegri is another brand that's kind of a takeoff on the Dansko, which is a little bit lighter and more flexible for some people who the Dansko is too firm. Romika, a nice German brand that you're not going to find many places. Mephisto. These all go back to some of these are the European comfort brands that my father was such a big fan of. Now you've got some more modern brands too, like Revere, who's really done a good job of it, making it aesthetically pleasing, but also having, the orthopedic features, the stability, the arch support, all wrapped into one package with multiple widths. you know, you've got brands out of Europe that you probably nobody has ever heard of, like Fidelio or Helix by Fidelio, and Sierra, which is out of New Zealand.
Mhm.
They've just been restarted, but that makes some really nice, unique footwear that's, you know, it might not be the dressiest on the planet, but a lot of people, if their feet hurt bad enough, they'll be willing to move into these types of footwear that can actually give them the orthopedic and the anatomic benefits better than some of the more mass marketed stuff that you see out there.
It's really functional. That I'm gonna ask you in a second about like what are your favorite tips for people in terms of buying shoes. But our experience there is I think it was called Soft Sole, which was the one I bought a couple pairs for my wife. And what was so cool about it, now I'm a podiatrist, right? I should know, I do know how to fit shoes once in a while, but I went in there and she couldn't find a single shoe. And we ended up choosing a Dansko because she has a normal foot, a little bit wider because my wife's from Brazil, so used to wearing sandals. So it splays, but it's nothing really wide. She said she married the right man, right? Because she has all these foot problems, Raynaud's in the winter and things like that.
Oh,
But
no.
so we got and then we put on the soft sole. It was the right size, and we're like, gosh, it didn't work. And then you had a wonderful person there helping us, and they said, well, did you know that there's a double liner in this? And I'm like, double liner? What the heck is that? I know of a shoe liner, but no, it looked like a liner, and you pull it out and had the same thing underneath it. And she took that out in both shoes, and like, bam, it fit her. So if you're like, that's just something for people that are watching. If you're trying a shoe and it doesn't work, you can see if there's a second liner in there. And there's a few shoes that are like that. So tell us some tips and things like that you've learned about with the shoe companies.
So yeah, and a couple of the shoe companies will do that. They offer like a multi-fit system where you can remove one of two insoles to give it a little more depth and room for the foot. We also can tinker a little bit with, tongue pads. We never will put a pad in the heel because that basically, those always fall out, and they also just push your toes to the front of the shoe.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put one up under the instep on a low volume foot, it can make a slip-on fit more snug. And then you could also we have like a thin fitter insole that you could add underneath the shoe's existing insole to make it a little snugger if you need to.
Okay.
The opposite of what we did in your wife's case. But brands, different brands like Sierra and Revere will offer things like that help, and then we can take our toolbox out as well. But the biggest key that we always try to tell someone too is first it has to fit, number one. So we're going to make you try on a lot of shoes, and that's part of it. And then, second, it has to do what you want it to do, whether it be, we have a extensive work boot collection of technical hikers, athletic and casual, dress casual and whatnot. And then, but you basically have to try a lot of shoes on, and when they finally hit that shoe that is the one, they usually know right away. They kind of say, all right, that one feels all right. We're still going to want you to try on more in case you might be able to beat that. But they kind of know it feels like home and everything feels better. And they walk around for a while and we tell them take their time. But a lot of it is just hands-on trying. We kind of have the guidance where we'll start out and bring out the Brannick, which the shoes aren't really based off that, but it's a starting point now where things aren't standardized. And, measuring the arch length compared to the heel to toe, a shoe to fit properly, the ball of the foot should line up at the widest part of the shoe. So if you have shorter toes, you can have a little more space in the end, longer toes, not as much, but you always want that ball of the foot to be in the right spot. If it's not, it's just hard to be comfortable in a shoe that doesn't kind of taper at the right spot and or isn't long enough. So basically, we have a knowledge of the products that we have, which are a lot, and we have to know that because that's what we do day in and day out. And we've put them, even when we get the new products, we start getting them on feet right away and get feedback. And so we know, oh, this should be a good option to try. And a lot of times conventional wisdom doesn't work. That's why it's good to go through all these steps too, because you may think right away, oh, you need a firm, stable shoe. Well, you get people in those firm, stable shoes, and all of a sudden they're like, it's not doing it. And then you go to a more cushioned but stabilized shoe, and that may be the answer, even though you thought originally it had to be firmer. So it's a lot of trial and error, and that's. But number one, it has to fit properly. So we take our time to do that. And then number two, it has to meet the needs of what you're looking for, whether it's for a certain type of job or recreational activities, something like that. And then, it has to we guarantee satisfaction, so that even if you walk out the door with it and you go and use it on a hike and it doesn't work, we'll take it back and get you into something else, or give the refund. So it's it's a lot of time put into that, but that's how we kind of operate here.
And one thing that's kind of interesting, in some of them, you can take the sock liner out if they come in with an orthotic, or do you have certain over-the-counter ones that you like? I know we prescribe them at times, but sometimes they need an over-the-counter. You find some better than others? You've probably tried a lot over the years.
Yeah, so we have the best luck with the Birkenstock blue footbed, which is kind of a half length. And it has, like good heel cup, a good transverse and medial arch built in, and that can work in many different shoes. And it has a lot of midfoot support. But on the full length side of things, the sole tends to sell the best for us. But we also do a lot with the Icebug, a Swedish brand that they put most of their money back into research instead of marketing, where in America, most companies go right after the marketing. And they offer 3 arch heights, so you get a low, medium, and a high. But they also have the anyone with metatarsal pain or neuroma, they have that metatarsal arch built in too. So it's a little unique in that. So those 3 tend to be our top sellers. We'll always try some other new ones out here and there, but those over the years have consistently worked best. And again, we tell people to bring them home, wear them for 2 weeks. If you don't get used to them, we'll take them back, because you never fully know until you spend the time in them.
Yeah, I like the Birks. They have a nice one. And how about, I know if you don't have, let's say, their size and they like a certain one, do you guys sometimes order them for the patients, for the customers that come in and things like that?
Yeah. So we always stock a lot. We stock too much, which is a large overhead, but that pays dividends in the long run. So we always have every size in the arch supports and things like that. In footwear, it can be tricky at times, because if the manufacturer runs out, and it's peak sneaker season times and things run out, now things are even more complex with the supply chain issues. So it's been harder, but we are way ahead of most stores in that we've always been a pre-book company. So you order your product 9 months ahead of time so they can forecast it, make it, get it across the ocean here. All that became a big disruption. But so certain brands like Oboz and Solomon and Brooks and even Hoke at times and others, we just have not been able to special order anything over the last 2 years. Normally though, if we don't have it, we will bring it in, and it's if we stock it, no obligation. Once it's here, we call you, we hold it, you try it on. If you don't like it, we put it in our inventory. So we're one of the few stores that still does do that. Like I said, though, certain products have been very difficult to get in the last 2 years, but fortunately we've been well stocked, better stocked than most. So.
And let's say we were meeting here 3 or 5 years from now, Matt. Where do you see the future of foot gear, shoe gear, whether it be with technology or new types that are coming out? What do you think the future is going to be like?
That's an interesting question. I try not to think about that too much, but you always do have to. I mean, I've read things about 3D mapped footwear, custom footwear. I think customization is going to become big, but when I look at these footwear companies, everything is so volume driven. And sourcing has become such an issue. Materials like that, things like that. I think that's going to just play more into that fashion side and young people with customization and things, but the prices are going to go way up there. So I think there's still always going to be that need for just a good quality, sensible footwear that does the job, has good anatomic features and orthopedic features. And there are companies out there that do that already, and hopefully things will smooth out with supply chains and whatnot. But yeah, it is going to be interesting, because the internet, how much further can the internet even go? They dominate the whole sales of the footwear industry. So what is next there? I don't know. I've seen in the last 2 years a resurgence of people wanting to come into the store and shop. And we've always had that niche, but it's growing, whether it's the areas growing around us more, or just that customers kind of want that personal touch, and or just to see and feel and experience, going out and shopping. So Things are going to change. They always do. It's hard to predict exactly how, but I would think though that more customization will become a big thing in footwear.
Cool, cool. Well, thank you, Matt. I think we covered a lot of things. If people want to, I don't know, peruse your website and kind of see what's going on there, or even visit you guys, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, so we're in Townsend, Massachusetts, right on the town common. It's a big white 3-story building that's hard to find because it's historic, but you'll find us. But our website is just evansonthecommon.com. And we have social media with the Facebook and the Instagram as well.